we've discussed certain very important indices. Many of you yesterday were asking me, sir, how do we keep on revising economy? Economy is such a vast subject. How do we keep on revising it? Definitely, yes. It's a vast subject. You'll have to keep on revising. But all I can tell you is to make the revision much more simple, I would recommend use mind mapping. For example, earlier I told you how to create a mind map. For example, have a look at this. In industries, what we have discussed yesterday, in industries, we discussed the remaining concepts. What were the remaining concepts? We discussed the concept of the index of industrial production, correct? Index of industrial production. And apart from index of industrial production, what we discussed, we also discussed index of 8 core industries, ICI, index of 8 core industries, and index of industrial production. Now, in case of index of industrial production, what are the important points? Right, there are three very important components in index of industrial production: mining, manufacturing, electricity. Let me see how many of you have actually revised. In case of index of industrial production, which of the three components, mining, electricity, and manufacturing, which of the three components has the highest weightage? Let me see. Between all the three, mining, manufacturing, electricity, right, which of the following has the highest weightage in case of IIP? Manufacturing, correct? Manufacturing has the highest weightage. Manufacturing has the highest weightage. Okay, it is manufacturing. So index of industrial production, three components. Manufacturing has the highest weightage. Please remember the weightages. It is published for every month. That is also correct. Anybody has a difficulty? It is also published for every month. That is for every month. It is published for the month of June, July, August, September, like this. And apart from this, what is the use of index of industrial production? It basically is a tool for policy making. It is a tool for policy making. It is used in case of making policies for the government to make estimates, advance estimates, etc. Then within index of industrial production, there are multiple industries. Right? I repeat, in within the index of industrial production, there are multiple industries. We will take 8 very important industries such as cement, coal, steel, refinery, etc. And these 8 industries, I will measure how much is the change in the output. In these 8 industries, I will measure how much is the change in the output. And that is basically called as a index of 8 core industries. Right? Index of 8 core industries. This also published monthly. For every month it is published. And it basically accounts for around 40% of index of industrial production. Around 40%. Right? In fact, it is there in decimals. I don't think so UPSC will test you in decimals, but definitely yes, around 40%. So after this, we have discussed services sector. After this, we have discussed a services sector, correct? In services sector, what is a service? It is an intangible product. It is an intangible product. That is, you cannot define in terms of length, weight. You cannot see them. These are invisibles. So these are services. Now, why services are so important for India? What is the importance of services for India? One, it accounts for large number of jobs generated, generally around 25 to 30%. Second, in terms of production, services sector contribution to GDP is very, very high, generally more than 50%. And after that, services sector accounts for exports, brings in lot of forex reserves to India. And that is the reason why services sector is so important. Then what are the reasons? What are the reasons why services sector has boomed? What are the reasons why service sector has grown so fast in case of India, especially post 1991? One, I said, international trade. Post 1991, international trade has actually increased. LPG reforms of Government of India, that is post 1991. Per capita incomes have increased, as a result of which a demand for the services also has increased. Many companies, many industries have grown, as a result of which demand for services also increased. So these are some of the reasons why service sector has boomed post 1991 in case of India. Then what are the challenges? What are the concerns related to services sector? We have discussed pandemic, right? Trade barriers, etc., having impact on services sector. And finally, have a look at this. Right? Finally, we have discussed reforms in the services sector. Reforms in the services sector. Now, what is the reform? We have discussed MEIS, SEIS. So, out of that, SEIS is related to services sector. We have discussed Startup India initiative yesterday. Startup India initiative. Government allowing a lot of FDI in the services sector. Right? We have discussed a Make India initiative yesterday, etc. So these are certain very important reforms. And right after this, basically we took the mind map of Make in India and Startup India, and we discussed what is Make in India, what is Startup India. Correct. So these are some of the very important components that we have discussed under the industries chapter yesterday. Now, please do let me know, will you be able to prepare these mind maps? My recommendation is prepare, sit. All you need to do is prepare it once. It will take time, I know that, right? Once you read a chapter, read the chapter, then prepare the mind map, then it will become very easier for you to revise all these chapters. After this, we started with the concept of investment models, right? We'll look at what we have covered in investment models. Now, regarding services, very recently there was one component I want to discuss, one concept I want to discuss. Have you heard of GSP? Let me see. How many of you heard of GSP? Did I discuss GSP in your classroom? Let me know. Have I discussed GSP? Generalized System of Preferences. It was there in the newspaper. Generalized System of Preferences, GSP. Now, I'm pretty sure I've discussed it. I'll tell you the context also. International trade. Let me know. Sir, where have we discussed GSP? I'll tell the context. International trade. That is, I believe, when I discussed WTO. When I discussed WTO, I talked about what is this GSP? What is the benefit of GSP? Right? Why India is demanding a restoration of status of GSP from USA, etc., etc. Now, think of it and please do let me know if USA will restore. I repeat, if USA will restore GSP status to India, will it benefit the services sector in India? Please do let me know. Think of it. If USA will restore the GSP status to India, will it provide a benefit to India service exports? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. For example, let's say under GSP, some of you are saying, no, let me give you the argument here. Let me give you the argument. Imagine this product was covered under GSP, which means a very low tax rate or no tax rate when this product will enter into USA. Now, earlier, the USA government removed this product from the GSP status. Now, imagine the GSP status is given back and this product again will be covered. Now, don't you think when I export this product to USA, services will also get the benefit more? Let me know. If I export this product to USA, will the services also get the benefit? Of course, yes. Sir, how? What about warehousing? What about transportation? What about shipping? All these are services sector. So when you export the product, don't you think services are also integrated? Services also are integral part of a product which is exported. So please remember, it's not just a product whose exports will increase. In fact, even the services will also get the benefit of it. Done? Now, before I go forward, basically the argument is today's Hindu newspaper. Please read today's Hindu newspaper. Two very important articles have appeared in today's Hindu newspaper. Anybody, by the way, has been able to look at Hindu newspaper today? So one article which I want you to read without fail, I want you to read regarding a very big article given on PLI. Very nice article, basically covers what we have discussed in the classroom. Is PLI promoting production? Is PLI promoting assembling in India? What does the government of India say? What does former RBI governor say? They're talking about that, right? Please read that article. We have discussed it. It's basically a story regarding that only. Please read that article. Second one also, please do let me know, did we discuss concern regarding India-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement? Let me know. Did we discuss regarding India-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement? Right, India-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. Did we cover the problem regarding India-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement in international trade? I in fact told you India-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement was signed and implemented post 2010 in case of India. And as per Niti Aayog, there is a huge disparity, imbalance in the bilateral trade. In fact, what was the argument is that India's trade deficit is actually increased and their trade surplus has increased. So the argument is we wanted to renegotiate. We want to renegotiate such a free trade agreement. Now there will be a renegotiation of India-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. Right? That renegotiation is going to happen. Right? That was the point. In fact, we had a discussion regarding this. I said, no doubt, whenever the FTAs are signed, the overall trade will increase. But what is also important is, are our industries getting the benefit of these agreements? Is it that trade deficit is increasing, or is it that trade surplus is actually increasing? Right. So that point is being discussed in this India-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. Okay. Yesterday it was there in Indian Express. Today it is there in Hindu newspaper. Please read. Please read these two articles. Okay. Now let me start. Yesterday what we have done? We started with investment models. Correct. Yesterday we started with investment models. Now, what we have covered in the investment models, we started with the FDI and EFPI, right? FDI and EFPI. What's the basic idea? FDI stands for foreign direct investment. EFPI stands for foreign portfolio investment. FDI will enter into India for a longer duration, to stay for a longer duration. They will invest in physical assets. They will create infrastructure, right? And they will create multiplier effect. Whereas in case of FPI, they will enter into India either through institutions or through individuals, etc. But they will invest in the financial instruments. They will purchase bonds. They'll purchase shares in the stock market. Right? That is basically the concept of EFPI. And FPI, I gave you one more name for this, hot money. Do you remember this? I gave you one more term for FPI, hot money. Right? Why it is called as a hot money? Because they will keep on moving from one country to another country in search of better rate of returns. Very simple. They'll keep on moving from one country to another country in search of better returns. Right? And because they will keep on jumping, moving from one country to another country, in the process of movement, they will create lot of volatility. They will create a lot of volatility. Right? For example, when the FPI will withdraw their investments from India, will they create volatility in the stock market? Can they create volatility in the bond market? Can they create a volatility in the foreign exchange market, etc.? So that is the precise reason, right? There is also a concept, right? In fact, one of the student asked and I said, there is a concept called as Tobin tax. Correct? Yesterday I answered this question. One of the student asked this question. Sir, what is this Tobin tax? Tobin tax is basically a proposal of a tax on cross-border capital flows. Remember this. Tobin tax is basically a type of a tax which has been proposed on cross-border capital flows. That is, whenever the capital will flow from one country to another country, right? There was a proposal, Tobin tax, impose the Tobin tax, collect the tax, so that the cross-border flows will automatically be minimized. Right? So we have discussed what is FDI, what is FPI, what is the route, in what way FDI is allowed to come into India, in what way FPI is allowed to come into India. FDI, direct route, that is automatic route, and approval, that is government route. In direct route, any sector which is there in the automatic route, you do not have to take any approval from the government. You can directly bring in the investment and make investment. And in the next 30 days, I repeat, in the next 30 days, all you need to do is inform Reserve Bank of India. And on the other side, approval route or government route, government will say, Government of India will decide which sector will be under the approval route, right? Which countries will be covered under the approval route. For example, I told you yesterday, any investment, any FDI that will come into India from our neighboring countries, please remember this. any FDI that will come into India from our neighboring countries, it has to go through approval route only. Then in case of FPI, what are the different routes we have discussed? Then we discussed concept of special economic zones as well as the concept of NIMC. SEZs are operational in India. These are special enclaves, right? Regions in India where the laws which are applicable are much more relaxed. For example, right, the tax laws, right? In case you import anything, right, no taxes are applicable. For 5 years, income tax exemption, 100% tax exemption is given. For next 5 years, 50% tax exemption is provided. So the laws which are applicable are very much relaxed to you. That area is called as a SCG. And why, right? Why do we promote SCG? For a very simple reason, we want to promote more and more exports from India. How many SEs are operational, what has been the number of jobs, right? How much exports they're accounting for, etc., etc. Data I've given. Then what are the concerns, right? What are the recommendations of Baba Kalyani committee? Then we have seen NIMZ, it's just a proposal, Nothing has happened as of now, right? No NIMZs are operational in India. We are supposed to start with the concept of PPP, correct? We are supposed to start with the concept of public-private partnership. We were supposed to start here. Now, before I go to PPP, I just want to add two more concepts here. Right? I just want to add two more concepts. First one is the concept of a double taxation avoidance agreement. Please do let me know, have I covered double taxation avoidance agreement? Please do let me know. Double taxation avoidance agreement. So if you are confused where I would have discussed it, I would have discussed it under taxation chapter. When I discuss, right, let's say the base erosion, profit shifting, etc., etc., right, that is where I would have discussed a double taxation avoidance agreement. All of you okay with double taxation avoidance agreement? Please do let me know. All of you okay with DTAA? Now, apart from DTAA, what I want to discuss is a concept of round tripping and treaty shopping. One is round tripping, second one is treaty shopping. Okay, one is round tripping, second one is treaty shopping. Now please understand both of them very carefully. Both are different, right? Round tripping is different, treaty shopping is different. Now what is a round tripping? Let me start. Imagine there is an investor in India. This investor, let's say, has a lot of money. For whatever reason, they do not want to invest directly in India. For example, you will ask me, sir, why? Why is this investor doesn't want to invest directly in India? What if I were to say this money is black money? Think of it. What if I were to say this money is black money? In that case, would you want to invest directly in the stock market in India? Think of it. If you directly invest in the stock market, one or the other fine day, the tax officials will come to your home, ask you what is the source of this money. Then you'll get stuck up. So that is a precise reason for many reasons. For many reasons, they want to pay less taxes. It's black money. Whatever the reason is, they do not want to invest directly. Now, they will take their money out of India through the process called as money laundering. Have you come across that term, money laundering? Let me know. Have you come across the term money laundering? What is concept of money laundering? Very simple idea. Money laundering is a process through which you will convert your black money into white money. Right? Whatever the complicated definitions you have by-hearted, don't do that. Keep it always simple. Launder. Laundry means what? Laundry means cleaning. All of you know this? Laundry means what? Right? Giving your clothes for laundry, they will say. Laundry means cleaning. So you will convert your black money into white money. That is called as money laundering process. Let's say through money laundering process, you will take your money to a tax haven. You will take your money to a tax haven such as Mauritius, such as British Cayman Islands, such as right, Virgin Islands, Panama Islands, etc. And right from the tax haven, imagine you will basically set up a unit in the tax haven, right? A company in the tax haven or an institution in the tax haven. And this tax haven will make again the investment back into India. We'll take that money and again back into India, they will make an investment. Now, many of you will ask me, sir, what is the objective here? Why are they doing it? I'll tell you. But please look at the picture and tell me, right? All of you, okay, why this is called as a why this is called as a round tripping? Round trip, right? Many of you will simply say, sir, what do you mean by round tripping here? All of you have taken a round trip. Round trip means what? You will start from your home, again you will end up, right, to your home. Or else, for example, if you're booking a bus ticket, if you're booking a flight ticket, right, don't you think online portal will ask you, is it a one way or a round trip? Round trip means you will start from point A, go to point B, then point C, again you'll come back to point A itself. So where you start is your destination. That is basically the argument of round trip. Now in this example, can I say money has originated from India? In this example, that is example 1. In this example, can I say origin of money is in India? And what is the destination of money? What is the destination of investment? Again, India. And that is the precise reason this is called as a round tripping. This is called as a round tripping. Can I tell you the context where the term round tripping very often appeared in the last 1 year? Hindenburg report. Have you read about it? Hindenburg report. There is an accusation, there is an allegation that round tripping is being done. Right? There is an accusation, allegation that round tripping is being done by Adani group of companies. And some of you might be thinking, sir, what is the advantage of all of it? What is the advantage? I'll just give you a very simple basic idea. Imagine you are the owner of a company. Okay, imagine you're the owner of a company and you own, right, let's say 100 shares. Understand this very carefully. You own 100 shares of a company. And have a look at this. Right now, price per share is a 10 rupee. Let's say, I'll throw arbitrary number. Right now, price per share is a 10 rupee. Can I say, basically your value of the asset, the value of the asset will be 1000 rupees. All of you okay with this? The value of the asset will be 1000 rupees. Now, imagine through round tripping, the money will come to India and there will be a higher demand for your company's shares. Simple idea. Okay. The round tripping will lead to more investment back into India, and specifically where? In which area? In purchasing shares of your company only. And when shares of your company will start being demanded more, please tell me what will happen to market price. Let me know. Tell me what do you think will happen to market price of the shares? Market price of the shares will start increasing. And when the market price of the shares will start increasing, your asset value, what do you think will happen to your asset value? Your asset value will also start increasing. Can I say your net worth will increase? All of you okay with this? Your net worth will start increasing, right? That is one. This is called as price gouging, price rigging. This is called as price rigging or price gouging. In fact, this was actually the concern regarding even P notes. Think of it. Can this be a concern regarding a P note, participatory note? That is, you have your money, rather investing directly, right, through your friend, you will make them invest in your stock market. Very simple idea. You have lot of money, right? Rather than you directly investing, you will give the money to your friends sitting in foreign countries. They will start purchasing through P notes. They will start investing in your shares. Can that lead to price rigging? Can that lead to price gouging? And some of you will simply ask me, sir, if the net worth increases, what is the advantage of it? What is the advantage? Simple. There is one more concept called as share pledging. There is one more concept of share pledges. Share pledging. Now, what is this idea of share pledging? Very simple idea. The owners of the companies can pledge the shares of their own companies. I repeat, owners of the companies can pledge. Pledge means give it to a bank and take a loan on it. right? They can pledge their own the shares of their own company and take a loan from the companies. Guarantee, simple logic of guarantees, providing guarantees to the bank. Now, please think of it. If the market price of the share will increase from 10 rupee to, let's say, 15 rupee, and let's say a bank says whatever is the market price, 50% of it I will give it in the form of a loan. Please tell me, can you take more loans by pledging the same number of shares now? I'll repeat the point here. If price rigging is done, can you borrow more money? Can you take more loans by pledging the same number of shares now? Answer is yes. Some of you are saying no. Why? What is the problem in this? Imagine until yesterday the share price was 10 rupee. You gave 10 rupee share to the bank, 50% you took 5 rupee loan. And right now, because of price rigging, because of round tripping, all of this, the price of the share has increased to 15 rupee. So until yesterday, you were allowed to take 5 rupee loan by pledging a share. Now you will be allowed to take a 7.5 rupee loan by pledging the same share. So will it not benefit you? Think of it. Will it not benefit you? Of course, yes, it will benefit to you. Right? That is the reason share rigging, price gouging, etc. These are unethical methods. You're not supposed to do them. These are unethical methods. Done? So this is basically the concept of round tripping and the concern regarding round tripping. What is a treaty shopping? What is the concept of treaty shopping? Now, imagine there is a foreign investor sitting in USA. A foreign investor sitting in USA wants to invest, let's say, in India. They want to invest in India. Now, have a look at this. When you want to invest in India, either you can directly invest, and let's say under DTAA, let's say, you will have to pay a tax rate of 10%. Simple example. Under DTAA, you have to pay a tax of 10%. Rather than this, what if the investor will take their money from USA to Mauritius? Rather than this, what if the investor will take the money from USA to Mauritius, and from Mauritius, the investment will be done in India? And as per double taxation avoidance agreement, let's say as per DTAA, on these investment that is done by the USA investor in India, they will have to pay taxes in Mauritius. As per DTAA, let's say they will have to pay the taxes in Mauritius. And let's say in case of Mauritius, tax rate is 0%. Now, can I say this investor will end up paying 0% tax on their returns that they will make through Mauritius in India? Think of it. This USA investor, if they directly make an investment in India, how much is the tax rate? On any returns they are earning, how much is the tax rate? 10%. But by routing their investments from Mauritius to India, as per DTAA, now they will end up paying 0% tax rate. Can I say they are searching for double taxation avoidance agreements which will provide them more benefit? Right? Let me know. Is it not that they are shopping? Shopping means searching. They are trying to find one treaty, one agreement which will provide them the highest benefit. What is the benefit? Lowest tax rate. This is called as a treaty shopping. This is referred to as a treaty shopping. Right? They are trying to search, the foreign investors are trying to search one instrument. One instrument is nothing but agreement through which country they can route their investments. Right? They can route the investment and get the highest benefit. That is, let's say 0% tax rate or even 1% tax rate. Done? All of you okay with this? All of you okay with this? Can we go forward? How do an individual transfer money from India to tax haven country? Would the government not come to know? Of course, yes. They can come to know. There can be legal methods. There can be illegal methods. My dear, money laundering. Right? Have you heard of money laundering or not? Right? So money laundering, you can do it illegally. If you have not seen even movies, then watch certain movies. Watch certain movies. They will show you beautifully how money laundering is done. right? So money laundering is a very famous exercise, right, which is done to basically avoid the government officials. They can do it legally also, they can do it illegally also. For example, today, do you think there is no money which will come into India from Mauritius? Please think of it. Right? Do you think no money will come into India from Mauritius? Of course, yes, a lot of money will come into India through Singapore, Mauritius, Cayman Islands, Panama Islands. Legally also it will come, and through money laundering also, whether you want it or not, it will end up coming into India. Why no tax from USA to Mauritius? Right? Let's say they also have DTA. Think of it. They also have DTA, and as per that, any investment that will come from USA to Mauritius, right, basically they will have to pay taxes in Mauritius. Let's say they will have DTA. Okay, done. Right. So again, please understand, you might try to find a loophole here. This is a loophole only. In loophole, you are trying to find a loophole. Right. So all of these actually take place in real life. These things will keep on happening. These key things will keep on happening. Okay, done. Okay, so these are certain things I wanted to discuss. Please be very careful. You might be asking, sir, why are these even relevant to UPSC? Of course, yes. Right. For current affairs, all these things keep on appearing in the newspaper. For example, when Adani issue was taking place, Hindenburg Adani issue was actually happening. The idea of a round tripping was actually being discussed. In fact, right, please understand, uh, round tripping is discussed in multiple areas. For example, even in P notes, there's a concern that round tripping might be happening. Right, even in many other types of instruments, there is a concern that illegally the round tripping might be happening. Okay, done. What is the benefit of share pledging? My dear, please understand. Can you take more loans now? Think of it. No, can you take more loans by giving the same asset? You're a businessman. You want to expand your operations by pledging the same share. If you can take more value of a loan, don't you think that is beneficial for you? Of course, yes, that is beneficial for you. Okay. So let me go forward now. Public-private partnership. PPP. Public-private partnership. Concept of PPP. Now, what is this public-private partnership? Simple idea. Remember the definition. Yeah, I will ask you about the definition again after some time. Please remember the definition. There are two parties here. One is the government. Second one is the private sector. Simple. One is the government. Second one is the private sector. And both the parties, that is the government and private sector, will come together, sign an agreement. And as per the agreement, the private sector now will be asked to either provide a good or provide services. Very simple idea. I'll repeat it again. What is a public-private partnership? PPP. Public-private partnership simply means there is an agreement between the government as well as the private sector, as per which the private sector has to provide certain goods or services. Such agreement, right, is basically called as a public-private partnership. And the agreement that is signed between the government as the private sector is called as concessionaire agreement. Now, very famous in case of India, the concept of PPP is very famous. In fact, in many industries now, many sectors now, government actually promotes the idea of a PPP. For example, right, a couple of days ago, I asked you people to read about electronic bus seva, PM electronic bus seva. Have you people read about that article? Please do let me know. And tell me, in that article, has the government of India, or under that scheme, has the government of India proposed using PPP or not? That is, they are saying we will use a private sector and we will pay certain amount of money. What is that? We'll understand it later. Please don't worry. Now, this model is called as a public-private partnership. Now, understand this very carefully. What is the need for such an agreement? What is the need for such an investment model? Reasons are very simple. Point number one, private sector is generally associated with a better implementation of projects. Very simple idea. Private sector is always known for better implementation of the projects compared to government agencies. Second one, private sector generally has a lot of money to invest. Government of India wants the private sector to invest. Rather than only government of India investing, if the private sector will also start investing, the burden of financing projects, the burden for financing lot of these projects, which is always on the shoulders of the government, which is always the duty of the government, the burden for the government automatically will come down, right? So these are some of the reasons why generally we promote the model of PPP. Expertise of both parties can be used. The government is short of resources, that is money here. Increased efficiency because of involvement of private sector, and private sector generally is associated with better usage of technology, better adoption of technology. These are some of the reasons why government generally promotes the model of public private partnership. And understand this, what are the different types of models? You'll understand. Generally, why does the private sector participate? What is the advantage for a private sector? I'll give a very simple example. Imagine government of India will tell you, you construct a road. This is a very, very famous model. Very, very famous model. You construct the road, you invest your money, and I will give you the right of collecting tolls for 20 years. Now, please tell me, don't you think private sector will look at this project and consider profits generation as a motive here? Right? Private sector will say, I will invest today and construct a project, and right over the course of 20 years, I might earn huge amount of returns. So argument is private sector is not doing any charity. I repeat, private sector is not doing any charity here. Private sector will also have the profit motive. But objective of government of India is, rather than me investing 100 crore rupee or 1000 crore rupee to construct the road, I am asking the private sector to invest. So the burden of investment right on me automatically will come down. So these are some of the reasons why PPP is very famous in India. Government has promoted PPP in multiple projects, multiple sectors. There is a presence of PPP now. Now, what are the different types of PPPs? Right? What are the different models of PPPs? Let's try and understand all of them individually. But before I go forward, please understand, this models of PPP is evolving. Right? Initially, there were only 4 to 5. Today, there are more than 20 types of models under PPP. Should you need to learn, or do you need to learn all the 20 plus types of PPP? Absolutely no. It is not at all needed for UPSC. What you can understand is, what are the basic concepts, basic ideas of PPP. Now let me understand, or let me make you understand what are these basic types of PPP models. One is called as a build, operate, transfer. Right. The second one is called as a lease, develop, operate. Third one is a services contract. Fourth one is a hybrid annuity model. In fact, I'll write a fifth one also. That is a EPC, engineering, procurement, construction. Engineering, procurement, construction. EPC stands for engineering, procurement, construction. Okay. Now, let's go one by one. First one, build, operate, transfer. Build, operate, transfer. What is this build, operate, transfer? Right. Let me give a very simple example. Imagine you're a private sector investor. Government will ask you to build, right? Let's say a national highway. Invest your own money, build a national highway, and operate the national highway for, let's say, 20 years. Collect the tolls for 20 years. And transfer the national highway after 20 years to Government of India. Is the logic okay? I'll repeat it again. Look at the name, build, operate, transfer. Government will ask you to invest money, right? They will ask you to invest money, construct the infrastructure project, operate the infrastructure project, and after 20 years, after collecting tolls for many years, you can transfer the infrastructure project back to government. Right, this is basically build, operate, transfer. And do not worry about examples of each one of them. Right, thousands of examples are there, thousands of examples. In case of India, by central government, more than 1,000 PPP projects have been implemented only by the central government. So you do not worry about it, understand the concept behind it. Second one is lease, develop, operate. Lease, develop, operate. For example, let's say there is already an infrastructure such as a airport. Government will lease out the airport. Government will lease out the complete airport for 20 years to a private sector company. And after operating for 20 years, the private sector will simply transfer back the asset to Government of India. Right? Can I call this as a lease, develop, operate? Government owns the infrastructure, leases out the infrastructure to the private sector for certain period. Right? Any example, sir? My dear, we have come across the concept of monetization pipeline. Correct? We have come across the concept of monetization pipeline. Many of the projects under monetization pipeline are being done on the concept of LDO itself. Lease, develop, operate. That is the second one. Third one, service contract. Third one is service contract. What happens in a service contract? The private sector will provide some of the services for specific period of time. The private sector player provides some of the services for specific period of time, not the complete service. Only part of the service will be provided by private player. For example, imagine, I'll take a very simple example. Many of you are giving me examples of this project, that project. My dear, I don't know which project is being constructed in your state. For example, I said 1,000 projects are being done under PPP, 1,000 projects. So I cannot literally remember all the 1,000 projects in which state they are being done, what model they are being done. So don't worry. So understand this. Service contract. What happens in a service contract? Let's take a very simple example. Metro project. Now please do let me know, metro services that you consume, can I say it is basically sum of multiple services? Yes or no? Right? Once you board the metro and travel from point A to point B, can I say multiple types of services are there? Sir, what do you mean by that? Once you enter into a metro station, initial point will be security, correct? The first point of check-in will be security. And after that, ticketing. Right? After that is ticket. And after that, you will board into a metro and then reach the destination. So can I say all these are services only? Somebody will provide a ticket to you. That is a service. Right? Somebody will do the security check. That is also a service. So what if out of all these services, I'll say security services will be given to a private sector company. Think of it. The security services are given to a private sector company for 20 years, for 10 years, for 8 years, for 13 years as per the requirement. Can I say this is nothing but a service contract? Let me know. Can I say this is nothing but service contract? Please read the definition, then look at the example. Private sector player will provide some of the services for a specific period of time. Right? They will sign an agreement. This agreement is called as a concessionaire agreement. Now, before I go to the hybrid annuity model, let me discuss the fifth one, engineering procurement construction, EPC model. Engineering procurement construction, EPC model. Now, what is this engineering procurement construction? Right, a simple argument. Government will ask you to construct a road. You will construct the road, hand over the road to government. I'll repeat the statement. Government will ask you to construct a road, hand over the road to the government. Government will operate the road. Government will collect the toll. But for you having constructed the road, government will pay money to you. Right, I'll repeat the example. Please listen to me very carefully. What is this engineering procurement construction? The private sector operator, private sector player is asked to construct the infrastructure, hand over the infrastructure to the government. And for having constructed the project, government will pay certain money to the private sector company. That is called as engineering procurement construction. Any problem with 1, 2, 3 and 5? Please do let me know. Otherwise, I'll go forward. Fourth one I'm yet to cover. I'll cover now. right? What is the benefit? My dear, please understand. Imagine government of India will ask you to construct a road, and you will bid for the project. And when you bid for the project, don't you think you will also include your profit motive in the prices of bid? Let me know. When you bid for the project, right, that is, you will say, sir, I will construct the road in 100 crore rupee. Is it not inclusive of your profit motive? Of course, yes. It is inclusive of your profit mode. Right, where does PM electric bus seva fall? Let the model be proposed first. It is just a proposal as of now. You do not know the details of the model. Let it come into implementation first. Only then you will understand what is the model. Right, what is basically the model, you will understand only at that point of time. Okay, done. Right, so engineering, procurement, construction, construct the project, hand over the project. Hand over the project. You are not supposed to operate it. Hand over the project to the government, and the government will give you certain amount of money as per the bid. Okay, done. Any doubts here? Any doubts? Again, do not complicate all these. Please do not complicate. Right, two students are saying, sir, build, operate, transfer and EPC are same. How they are same? Let me know. There are two students who are saying BOT and EPC are one and the same. How? How they are same? You tell me. In case of a build, operate, transfer, who will operate the, let's say, national highway? Who will collect tolls in a national highway? Private sector company. Whereas in case of EPC, if you're going to construct the same national highway in EPC, do you think private sector will operate the national highway? No, it is government. Because you are not going to operate the project, you will transfer the project to the government directly. You will not be given the right to operate, you will transfer the project to the government directly. Government will pay money to you. Government will have the right to collect tolls under EPC model, but nothing in case of BOT until and unless the concessionaire period is over. Done? And some of you are asking, repeat fourth. Very interesting, by the way. Some of you are asking, repeat fourth. My dear, where did I discuss fourth? Let me know. Where did I discuss fourth? I have not even discussed fourth. Right? That basically shows, right, in how much concentration you have in the classroom. I have not even discussed fourth. And already the point is, repeat fourth. How can I repeat if I have not even done? Now, let me discuss hybrid annuity model. Let me discuss what is a HAM model, hybrid annuity model. Very, very famous now. Very famous. What is this hybrid annuity model? Let's start. I'll come back to this. Don't worry. But please listen to the model very carefully. I've taken this picture from a government document. Don't say picture is not clear, etc., etc. Then you'll have to talk to government. Now let's start. Imagine a road project has to be constructed. Okay, imagine a road project has to be constructed. And you will say, as a private sector company, you will tell the government, sir, to construct this road, the project cost would be, let's say, 500 crore rupee. I'll take simple numbers so that calculation becomes easier. The total project cost, they will simply use the term TPC. Total project cost is, let's say, 500 crore rupee. So government says, okay, then you start constructing the road. So point number one, 40% of this project cost. I repeat, point number one, 40% of this project cost is given by the government in the first 5 years itself. Look at the point here. 40% of the project cost is given by the government in the first 5 years itself, which means out of 500 crore rupee, government will give you 40%. Means what? You are going to invest from your pocket how much money? From your pocket, that is from your side as a private developer, how much money you will invest from your pocket? You are going to invest 300 crore rupee. All of you okay with this? From your pocket, from your side, either you will borrow from the market or you will sell the shares of the company, whatever it is. Remaining 60%, that is 300 crore rupee. So government says 40% I will support. I will give you the 40% of the project cost in the first 5 years. And point number two, when you invest 300 crore rupee and construct the road, You will hand over the road to me. You will not operate it. You will not be allowed to collect tolls. You will hand over the road to me. I will start collecting the tolls. Again, please understand, when I say government will start collecting the tolls, government itself through NHAI, National Highways Authority of India, can collect the tolls, or they can simply outsource only this service to a private sector company. Whether it is done directly by the government or it is outsourced, that is not important, but you will not be allowed to collect the tolls. You do not have the right to collect the tolls. Okay. Next, toll collection done by the government. And after this is done, the private sector will have to keep on maintaining the road. It has to keep on maintaining. Maintaining means if there is a repair, if certain repairs have to be done, certain maintenance has to be done, it has to be done by the private sector. Now, what is the advantage for the private sector? Why is the private sector doing this? If they are not getting anything, why is the private sector doing it? It's not that private sector will not get anything. Government says, whatever your investment is there, please have a look at this. Whatever your investment is there, government will simply say, for maintenance of the road, for maintaining the road, I will pay money to you. And whatever your investments are there, right, and your investment I will return with interest payments. I'll repeat the statement here. Whatever your investments are there, right, your investment in this project is how much? Your investment in this project is how much? 300 crore rupee. So government says, I will return this on annual basis, right? I will make annual payments. I will return this along with the interest payments. Is the model okay with all of you? Please do let me know. Is the model okay with all of you? Right, I'll repeat the model here. Please listen to me carefully. Whatever is the project cost, 40% of the project cost, government will give it to you. Remaining 60%, you will have to invest. You can borrow, you can take a loan, entirely left to you. You will have to invest. And once the road construction is done, you will hand over the road to the government. Government will have the right to collect tolls. You do not have the right. But who will maintain the road? Who will do the repairs of the road? Private sector company, which has constructed the road. And for having provided these kind of services, government says, I will give you annual payment. Annuity means annual, right? Every year, annuity payments are done. For maintaining, O&M means operations and maintenance. For maintaining the road, I will make payments to you. And whatever your investments are there, along with interest, I will return your investments. Right? Have a look at this. All payments are to be made on biannual basis during the 15-year operations period. 15-year is agreement period. Operations period is nothing but agreement period of the concessionaire. So this is a model which is called as a hybrid annuity model. Now please look at the model and tell me, do you find certain features which are related to EPC? Let me know. Do you find certain features which are related to EPC, engineering, procurement, construction? Do you also find certain features which are related to BOT, build, operate, transfer? Yes or no? Will you find certain features from BOT model and certain features from EPC model? That is the reason. Have a look at this. HAM is a mix of both EPC as well as BOT. HAM, that is hybrid annuity model, is a mixture. It is a mixture. It's a hybrid of both EPC as well as a build, operate, transfer. Engineering, procurement, construction, and build, operate, transfer. Done. Under this, a fixed payment is done for a period of time, and then a variable amount is paid for the remaining period of time. For the first 5 years, 200 crore, that is 40% is given. For remaining period, along with the remaining amount, interest is paid by the government. Okay. The government will contribute to 40% of the project cost in the first 5 years through annual payments. The remaining payment will be done on the basis of assets created and the performance of the developer. That is maintenance of the developer, repairs are done by the developer, etc., etc. This is the concept of hybrid annuity. Look at the name itself, you'll understand. Hybrid annuity model. Done? Is 40% constant? Yes. Under HAM model, we take 40%, that is fixed. How it is similar to BOT? My dear, build, operate, transfer. Who is going to build the project here? Private sector. Who is going to operate and maintain the project? Private sector. So is it not having certain features of BOT? It has features of both BOT as well as right EPC. That's the reason it is a mixture of both EPC as well as BOT. And some of you are correcting me, sir, 40%, it should be 300, etc., etc. Please understand what I've written. Please understand first. Out of 500 crore, 40% will be given by the government. I said this will be 200 crore. And remaining 300 crore will be the investment done by the private sector. That is a point. Okay. Is also helpful for quality infrastructure. My dear, if you are going to imagine you are the private sector company, right? Some of you are asking, what if the asset does not perform well, etc., etc. Imagine your private sector company, you are supposed to maintain the road. You are supposed to maintain the road, right? So if it is your duty to maintain the road, will you construct a quality infrastructure or an inferior infrastructure? Think of it. You are the developer, and after that 15 years you will only have to maintain the road. You will only have to repair the road, which means, right, while constructing itself, will you not take care of the quality of the infrastructure? Of course, yes, you will do that. You will do that. Okay. Okay. Now, what are the issues regarding PPP? What are the issues? What are the problems regarding PPP? Let's try and understand this. First one, having long-term financing is a problem in India. All of you okay with this? Having access to long-term financing is a very big problem in India. Why? Most of the financing or lot of financing for infrastructure project comes from banking sector. Lot of infrastructure projects. But please think of it and let me know, do you think banks are best suited? Banks in India, are they best suited to provide these kind of long-term infrastructure projects? Right, we have discussed all of it. Right, what is the problem? The banks will face asset liability mismatch. The banks face the issue of ALM, asset liability mismatch. So point number one, getting access to cheaper long-term financing is a problem in India. Second one, existing contracts focus more on financial returns than providing services. You can take any number of projects, this becomes a problem. What is the issue here? Whenever government and private sector will come together, sign an agreement, their argument is not about quality of services. They are more focused on how much is investment in a project, how much is revenue generated in the project, how much is the profit earned by the private sector company, etc., etc. But don't you think the focus should be also on quality of services? Think of it. Right? Don't you think the focus should also be on quality of services? Some of you will ask me, sir, how do you determine what is the quality of service? I'll give a very simple example. If you talk about PPP in railways, think of this and do let me know. If you talk about PPP, public-private partnership in railways, if I talk only about how much is the revenue potential for the private sector, is it not just focusing on only financial returns? Rather than this, what if I say in railways, one of the parameters that you can consider to talk about quality of services is the railways operated by the private sector. Is it departing on time and reaching on time? Let me know. Can you say departure, timely departures, timely reaching the destination will represent one of the parameters regarding quality of services? So I hope you understand what I'm talking about, right? I hope you understand what I'm talking about. For example, if you talk about, let's say, airports, right? What about the services given in the airports? Security services, right? What is the length of the time taken for entering into airports? Are the roads narrow? Are the roads wider? Right? Within airports is right, a quality of services such as seating services, sufficient seating services there or not? Drinking water facilities there or not? Will it all not be part of quality of services? So generally, existing contracts focus more on revenue model, not focused on providing quality services to customers. Third one, private developers lose bargaining power in long-term projects with policy changes. Slightly tricky, slightly technical, understand these problems. The private developers lose bargaining power in long-term projects with policy changes. Let me give a very simple example. Let's say hypothetically, Government of India has asked you to construct one right infrastructure project, and part of the revenue you will have to give it to government. I repeat, Government of India has asked you to construct an infrastructure project, right? Provide services, earn a revenue. But part of the revenue you will have to give it to government, you will have to share with government. Now please think of it and let me know, will other policies of Government of India have an impact on revenue generation capacity for you? Please think very carefully. Right? Will other policies of Government of India, will it have an impact on your revenue generation capacity? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. It will have a direct as well as indirect impact on your revenue generation capacity. For example, I'll give a very simple example. Do not complicate it. Keep it simple. Let's say there is a national highway you have constructed, and you are supposed to collect revenue for 20 years. But for the same two cities, now, imagine government will develop waterways. Today we will discuss waterways, don't worry. For the same two cities, government will develop a waterway now. Or same two cities, government will launch Vande Bharat Express. Please tell me, developing waterways, launching a Vande Bharat Express, will it not influence how many vehicles will be there on these national highways? Think of it. Will it not have an impact on the traffic on national highways? And when there is a lower traffic on national highways, will your toll collection be affected? Will your revenue generation be affected? Of course, yes. So that is the argument here. These are long-term projects. These are not short-term. These are not for 1 year or 2 years. These are long-term infrastructure projects. And when these are long-term infrastructure projects, the private sector should be allowed to bargain, negotiate with the government over a period of time, because other policies of the government will also have an impact on the revenue generation capacity of the private sector. Fourth one, issues with the land acquisition. Anybody says, sir, why? What is the issue with the land acquisition? Again and again, we have been discussing this land acquisition issue. So acquiring land in case of India is very, very difficult. Lot of litigations are there. For example, many of you are asking me, sir, how? Why land acquisition is always a problem in India? I'll give you one problem here. There is a problem with the idea of a conclusive titling of the land. Again, not entirely related to economics, but understand current affairs. A lot of current affairs is being discussed regarding this. There's a problem in conclusive titles. Conclusive titles or conclusive ownership of a land. Sir, what do you mean by conclusive ownership? I'll give a very simple example. Imagine there is person A. Person A has a set of documents to prove that a particular land, right? Let's say a land by survey number XYZ is owned by A. Have you seen this multiple times where another person B also a set of documents which show that survey number XYZ is owned by B? Yes or no? Please think of it. It's very, very common thing to happen in India. Very common thing. Now, B will put a board saying that this land is owned by him or her. A will go to the court. So this will fall into litigation. One example. Second example. Imagine there is person A. Person A has 3 kids, right, or 3 children. without informing, let's say the 3 children, A has sold a certain amount of land to me. Now, these 3 children, after the demise of A, will go to court and file a litigation saying that because it is an ancestral property, it should go to them, not me. Now the land will fall into litigation. Yes or no? Right, so I hope you understand. These are some examples, right? I can give you multiple examples like this. These are some of the examples, right? In many of these cases, there is no conclusive ownership of who actually owns the land. And as a result of this, this land will fall into litigation. And as per Niti Aayog report, it is not easy to resolve land litigation disputes in India. On an average, as per Niti Aayog, it takes around 20 years to resolve land disputes. So imagine, on an average, it takes 20 years to resolve land disputes in India. It's not easy to resolve land disputes. Is the logic okay with all of you? Is the logic okay? And please understand, what is the problem? If the land will fall into a dispute like this, what is the problem? What if this land is owned by a farmer? Think of it. What if this land is owned by a farmer? A is a farmer. Now, can A sell this land to somebody else? Think of it. Can A sell this land to somebody else, collect money and use it for other activities? No, it will not be allowed. Can A cultivate on this land? That is also not allowed because it is under dispute. Can A take a loan on this land? Again, no, that will also not be allowed. So I hope you understand. If the lands will fall into dispute like this, right, no infrastructure can be constructed, right, nobody will be able to purchase them. They cannot take loans also, right? Asset is there, but you cannot derive any value from the asset. That is a problem regarding land in India. Now, I hope you understand why every time when I talk about infrastructure, I'll keep on bombarding one point. I'll keep on giving you one point, issues with the land acquisition. Because infrastructure means you require land. Land acquisition is not easy in India. Issues related to government clearances. What if one of the ministries under the government does not give you an approval? What if one of the ministry, right, withdraws its approval? What if Supreme Court of India will take up a case against your project and ask you to halt the infrastructure project? So there are many instances where these have actually happened. Right? Even Supreme Court of India might ask you to alter the project, as a result of which cost will increase, revenues might dip, you might incur losses because of that, etc., etc. Next, private sector is not interested to invest in all the sectors in India. That's a fact, by the way. Private sector is not interested in investing all the projects. Please remember this. In case of PPP, most of the projects implemented by the central government are in road infrastructure. I'll repeat the statement. Most of the projects, more than 50% of the PPP projects from the central government are in the roads sector. Whereas we have PPP in many other sectors. We have a PPP in shipping. We have PPP in airports. We have PPP in a railway sector. So there are so many sectors where PPP is open now. But private sector generally will invest more in states where they can find better revenues. They will invest in sectors where they can find better revenues. Right? So most of the PPPs, please remember this, most of the PPPs are concentrated in few of the states such as Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Gujarat, Maharashtra, etc. And it's not difficult to understand why. And most of the PPP projects in central government which have been allocated, most of them are there in the roads sector itself. And the reason which has been cited is very simple. Reason which has been cited by the private sector is, in roadways, interference of the government in terms of implementation of the policies is very less compared to railways. Think of it. In case of railways, historically, where do you think government interference is very high? Do you think it is in railways or roadways? Think and let me know. Where do you think interference, that is policy making, implementation, evaluation, financing, etc., etc., where do you think government interference is very high? It is in railways. Some of you are saying roadways. No, my dear. It is in railways. Why? Railways are operated by the central government. Railways are operated by the central government. Running of railways is the duty of the central government. Whereas in case of roadways, no. Right? A lot of these infrastructure projects, they have thrown open to private sector. Right? So next one, the non-performing assets in infrastructure projects have increased. And again, infrastructure means again, which can cover even PPP infrastructure projects. There have been delays in developing of many of these infrastructure projects because of land acquisition, because of government, right? Let's say issues with government departments, right? Or judiciary interference, etc., etc. And remember this, whenever there's a delay in the development of infrastructure project, cost of the project will start going up. I'll repeat the statement. Whenever there is a delay in the development of the project, cost associated with the project will start going up. Right? That's a very simple logic, because imagine you can complete, right? I'll just give a very simple example. Imagine you can complete a project by hiring 2 people for 1 day. But because of the delay, rather than 1 day, now the project will take 3 days to complete. Can I say, rather than paying salaries or wages for 1 day, now you're paying salaries or wages for 3 days, which is nothing but increasing the cost of the project. Right? So whenever there's a delay in the project, the cost associated with the project will also start increasing. So these are some of the issues regarding PPP, public-private partnership. Right? These are some of the issues regarding public-private partnership. Now next, what is the way forward? What are the recommendations? Okay. What are the recommendations? What is the way forward? At Kelkar committee recommendations are there. Right, very old committee, right, around 7 to 8 year old committee recommendations are there. Most of them are still on paper, which are yet to be implemented by the government. Let's start. State should not be allowed to participate in the PPP. And when I say state here, I'll write it. Please read it very carefully. The state-owned entities should not be participating in case of PPP. Why? Why should the state-owned entities not participate in PPP? Point number 1. Right, I'll ask you questions now. Start answering. Point number 1. When you say public-private partnership, traditional definition. When you say public-private partnership, can I say it should be between the government and private sector? Let me know. Listen to me very carefully. When you say public-private partnership, is it not between the government and private sector? Point number 2, what is the duty of the government? What is the duty of the government? Is it to earn a profit or is it to provide welfare? Think of it. What is the priority for the government? Should the priority of the government be earning more and more profit or provide welfare to the people? Priority should always be provide welfare for the people. Provide welfare. That should be the priority. Profit is not the duty of the government. I hope you understand this. If profit was the priority for the government, then they should not even go for privatization of public sector companies. Is the logic okay with all of you? Think of it. If priority for the government is to earn a profit, why should they go for privatization of companies? Why should they go? Sir, Air India, many of you will simply say, sir, but it was loss making. Nationalize it. Think of it. Nationalize it. Nationalize the civil aviation market, which means you are the only player who can earn a profit in a sector where you are the only player. Obviously, it will be the government. So argument is simple here. Government should not be running behind profit. Government should be focused on providing welfare. Now, put these points together. Come to the third point. State governments, many of the state governments do this. State governments will set up entities which will try to enter with PPP with central government. I repeat, imagine here is a state government. The state government will set up an entity ABC. Now ABC will enter into PPP with the central government. Please tell me, point number 1, please tell me, is it strictly public-private partnership? Look at this example. Look at this example. Is it strictly a public-private partnership? Is this ABC a private sector company? No, it is a public sector company. It is owned by the government, right? Although not by the central government, but by the state government. Point number one. Point number two, if the state government will, through ABC, start earning profit, don't you think their focus will be more on earning profit, not on providing welfare? Is the logic okay? Now, state government, once they start earning profit, their focus is more on earning profit, not to provide welfare to the people. That is the reason Kelkar committee says the entities which are owned by the state government should not be allowed to enter into PPP. Right? It should strictly be between the private sector company and the government. It should be between both of them, private and the government. Okay. Second one, guidelines for risk allocation. Now think of this very carefully. Imagine you're going to construct an airport. Imagine you're going to construct an airport. Okay. Will you face any kind of a risk or not? Are you going to face risk in constructing the airport? Answer is yes, by the way. So what kind of a risk? You will take a loan at a lower rate of interest. Now the rate of interest on the loan will start increasing. Is it a risk for you? Think of it. Is it a risk? Of course, yes. You'll acquire land, but some of the land is right contentious. It is disputed. Now the whole project cannot be completed. There is a delay in the completion of the project. Can I say there are issues related to a risk associated with land acquisition? Now you want to import machinery. Exchange rate will start depreciating. Indian rupee will start getting depreciated to a very great extent. Are you going to face exchange rate risk? Right? Even after that, you are ready to import. Government of India will impose a restriction on the import. Government of India will impose a restriction on machinery importing. Are you going to face a risk? You want to start constructing, labor availability has become shortage. There is a shortage of labor availability. That is a risk. You constructed the airport, but customers are not coming to the airport. Not too many customers are coming to the airport. Is there a traffic risk that you are going to face? So I hope you understand. I just gave you examples of different types of risk that you are going to face while constructing, when you construct a infrastructure project. Right now, I repeat, right now, government says all the risk that is associated with the project will have to be taken by the private sector. Government will not take up any of the risk, right? For example, sir, what do you mean by government taking the risk? Think of it. Can Government of India through state governments make it easier for acquiring land for you? I hope you understand this. Can Government of India through the state government, because state governments generally are involved in land acquisition, can they make it easier for you to acquire land? Sir, how can you say it is easier to acquire land? State government will acquire land and then give it to you. Simple. Right? They will first have already acquired the land, then they'll say, in this area, please construct airport. So to a certain extent, can I say even the government should take up the risk associated with the project? That is what the committee says. Have guidelines for risk allocation between the government as well as the private sector. Third one, we do not have framework at the national level. That is, we do not have a policy at the national level for PPP, have a policy at the national level. Next, discourage a Swiss challenge model. I'll discuss this separately. Just give me some time. Right? I'll discuss this separately. Swiss challenge model, I'll discuss it separately. Protect the bargaining power of the private sector. Couple of minutes ago, did we discuss this? That is, these are long-term projects. These are not short-term, these are long-term projects. And because these are long-term projects, government has to ensure that certain bargaining, negotiation power is there with the private sector over a longer period. Sector-specific regulators. have sector specific regulators. What is the use of a sector specific regulator? Please tell me. Can I say RBI is a sector specific regulator? Let me know. Can I say RBI is a sector specific regulator? What is the role of RBI? RBI will ensure that everybody who is participating in the sector is following guidelines. Nobody is violating the guideline. Everybody is following, right, the provisions, etc. Can I give you one more example? Have you heard of RERA now? RERA is very, very famous. Have you heard of RERA? Real Estate Regulatory Authority. RERA has become one of the very important regulators. Until couple of years ago, there was no regulator for real estate projects. There was no regulator for real estate projects. The private sector developers used to start developing, collect money, and provide a very inferior project to you. They would collect money and they will never complete the project on time. They will initially say something, right? They'll say 1 crore rupee, collect money from you, and after 1 year, they'll say cement prices have increased. Give me 20 lakh rupees more. So earlier, there was no real estate regulator, and private sector started abusing the customers. And that is the precise reason now Government of India, central government has set up a authority, regulatory authority for real estate. And if you're reading newspapers, if you're looking at the ads, especially in right Hindu newspaper, Indian Express, etc., if you come across a real estate project, they will ensure that they will write it is RERA approved. I hope you understand. Right? They'll simply write RERA approved. What do you mean by the concept of RERA approved? We have taken all the approvals of RERA authority and we are following the guidelines of RERA. Right? There are a lot of guidelines for real estate construction now. So argument of this authority is we need to ensure that there are sector specific regulators. For every sector, there are regulators, right? So that these regulators will ensure, right, whatever companies are participating, they will participate and provide right infrastructure projects. Okay. Frame guidelines for auditing account books of the private sector. Frame guidelines for auditing account books of the private sector. Why is this recommended? Imagine you are the government and I'm the private sector company. You have asked me to operate an airport, and in return I should give you 10% of my revenue. Simple. Okay, revenue sharing model. You have asked me to operate an airport. Whatever revenue I generate, 10% of the revenue I should give it to you. Now let's say after 1 year is over, I will give you 2 crore rupees. I will give you 2 crore rupees. Now please tell me, how will you be able to find out whether the 2 crore rupee revenue that I've given to you, whether this is right revenue or not? I'll repeat the statement. Imagine it's a revenue sharing model. 10% of my revenue I'll have to give it to you. After 1 year is over, I'll give you 2 crore rupee. How will you be able to find out whether this 2 crore rupee is the right amount of revenue or not? You will have to look into my account books. All of you okay? You will have to look into my account books. You will have to check my account books. You will have to check how much revenue I've generated from my, right, let's say, project. But that is not allowed. Government is not allowed to look into the account books of the private sector company. They have CAG. Some of you are saying, sir, CAG can be used here. My dear, CAG doesn't look into the private sector companies' account books. They can only look into the government entities, not private sector account books. Right? They cannot audit. That is the precise reason. Have a look at this. Frame guidelines for auditing the account books of the private sector. Right? You will have to be allowed to look into the account books of the private sector. You will have to appoint someone who can audit the income statement, profit and loss statement, or let's say balance sheet of the private sector companies. That is the recommendation of Kelkar committee. Done? Can we go forward now? Can we go forward? Can we also say that there is an issue of favoritism in PPP while allocating projects? Please understand, rather than using the term allocation, now many of these are auctioned. Auctioning is done now. If you're reading current affairs, Supreme Court of India has stated whenever the government is dealing with the resources, naturally available resources, they should go for auctioning. They should not go for allocation. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement and correct me if I'm wrong. Right? Government nowadays goes for auctioning of the projects. It doesn't go for allocation of the projects. Right? So that whenever there is auctioning, there is always a transparency in the process. Transparency in the sense, right? Bidders are there. Let's say there are 4 competitors, 5 competitors. Auctioning means government will be able to generate more and more revenue. Okay. Sir, this all problem are almost solved by Gati Shakti. Are they relevant? My dear, Gati Shakti will help in coordination. Gati Shakti program or Gati Shakti initiative of Government of India will help in coordination between government agencies. Gati Shakti doesn't solve, right, the risk allocation. Gati Shakti does not, right, solve, Swiss challenge model. Gati Shakti does not protect bargaining power of the private sector company. And moreover, I hope you understand, moreover, Gati Shakti as of now, and I'll give you the current affairs also. Gati Shakti platform is available mainly for government agencies. Very recently, very recently, you can check it. Very recently, Gati Shakti platform has been made open to the private sector companies. Very recently. Now, many of you are asking, what is Gati Shakti? Great. You people are preparing current affairs very nicely. Continue to prepare like this only. Gati Shakti is an initiative of Government of India where multiple agencies of Government of India have been brought on one platform for better coordination, cooperation for implementation of the project. For example, I'll tell you, right? The example that was given by the Prime Minister only, I'll tell you. Imagine in your locality, and this keeps on happening because Gati Shakti not very famously implemented at the local level. Imagine in your locality, you must have seen this. One agency will come and construct the road and go, right? Develop the road and go. And another agency will come, right? Basically dig up this part of the road, to lay down pipelines. And after a couple of days, one more agency will come. They will dig up this part of the road to lay down, let's say, certain, right, telecom lines. So can I simply say in this example, please think of it. Can I simply say there are 3 agencies which are supposed to implement 3 projects, right, in the same area? All of you okay with this? Right? There are 3 agencies which are supposed to implement 3 projects in the same area. Then rather than basically having a coordination between all 3 agencies, if there is no coordination, these projects will happen. Right? Road is constructed, they will dig up the road, right? Road quality will suffer. Rather than this, what if all these 3 agencies coordinate? First, right, the pipelines will be laid down, right? Let's say the telecom lines will be laid down, then the road construction would be completed. Don't you think this will provide a better quality infrastructure projected to you? Think of it. This will provide better quality infrastructure projected to you. That is basically the objective of Gati Shakti. I hope you understand. That is basically the objective of Gati Shakti. And private sector says, right, this platform where all these agencies are coordinating with each other. Everybody is saying this is the project we are implementing, right? All this coordination is happening. We should also be given access to that. We should also be able to see what they are proposing, because I also want to plan. I, as a private sector, I also want to plan my infrastructure projects. I also want to plan where I should invest, etc. That is the argument of Gati Shakti. Okay. And 2 students are asking, repeat Swiss challenge model. I will discuss Swiss challenge model. Have patience. Explain first point. State entity should not be allowed to participate in PPP because PPP, strictly speaking, is between private sector and the government. State should be focused on providing welfare, should not run behind profit making. Okay, now let me go to the next one. Swiss challenge model. Discourage Swiss challenge model. Discourage. Why, you'll understand in a minute. Swiss challenge model is also referred to as unsolicited bid proposal. Right? Listen to me carefully. Swiss challenge model is also referred to as unsolicited bid proposal. Now, what do you mean by unsolicited bid proposal? Let me explain. Let's start. Imagine there is an airport. Okay. Government doesn't have any proposal to give it on lease. I repeat, imagine there is an airport. Government doesn't have any proposal. Government is not even thinking of giving the airport to private sector on lease. But the private sector will prepare a proposal, approach the government, submit the proposal. I'll repeat it again. Right, there is an airport. Government has no proposals as of now. Government has not even thought of, right, giving the airport to private sector on lease basis. But the private sector will prepare a report, approach the government, submit the proposal to the government. Can I call this as unsolicited proposal? Let me know. Can I call this as unsolicited proposal? Unsolicited means what? Without anybody requesting it. Right? Everybody is okay. Solicit, unsolicit. These are very basic English terms. Solicit means you are requesting. Unsolicit means you are not requesting. Right? So understand the logic here. Without any request from the government, private sector will take a proposal, approach government, submit a proposal to the government. Now imagine you are the prime minister. Imagine. Should you allocate the project to this private sector? Think of it. Should you simply allocate the project? Allocate means give the project to private sector. No, you should not give it. You should never give it. Why? Right? There is no transparency then. There is absolutely no transparency in the system. Now look at this. The private sector will approach the government, give a proposal. Give us a proposal, submit a proposal. Now what the government will do, because the private sector is asking for, right, this airport, now the government will come out with a proposal saying that, okay, we want to lease out this airport. We want to lease out this airport for 30 years. Such and such company has already submitted a proposal. Is there anybody else in the market who wants to submit proposal? Right? Is there anybody else in the market? Right? They're basically marketing, advertising it now. Is there anybody else in the market who wants to submit one more proposal? If there is a submission of one more proposal, then there is a competition, bidding will take place. If nobody else will come forward, then right, the proposal will be given, the project will be given to the original company, to the first company which came out with the proposal. This model is called as a Swiss challenge model. All of you okay with this? This model is called as a Swiss challenge model. Right? Anybody has a problem? Can I go forward? Anybody has a problem? Please do let me know. What do you mean by unsolicited, my dear? Right? I cannot teach English now. I cannot teach English. Please start reading. No? Solicit, unsolicit. Right? Government is not requesting any proposals. Private sector will come out with a proposal, approach government. If without request, if a proposal is given, this is called as unsolicited. If I want to talk in a layman language, again, UPSC will not ask you this. UPSC will not ask you this. I'm pretty sure some of you are not ready to get married, but many of you will keep on getting proposals. Your nephew will bring a proposal, your uncle will bring a proposal without any request. They will come with proposal. Can I call this as unsolicited? Think of it. Again, don't write this in exam. Please do not write this in exam. I'm just trying to make you understand what is solicited, what is unsolicited. Right? One is, you'll say, okay, I'm ready to get married. Then proposals will come to you. Solicited. You are saying, I want to read UPSC. I want to prepare for UPSC. I don't want to get married. No thought as of now. But even then, right, your uncle will bring a proposal. Right? That is unsolicited. I hope you understand. Unsolicited, solicited. Unsolicited because government is not even thinking, but private sector will come with the proposal. Submit it to government. Government says, I cannot directly allocate it to you. let me put it in the public domain. Let me inform others also. If nobody will come to compete with your project, I will give the project to you. I will give the project to you. If somebody else will propose, then you will have to increase the price. That is the concept of unsolicited bid proposal, which is famously referred to as Swiss challenge model. Swiss challenge model. The committee says discourage. Discourage a Swiss challenge model. Why? Right? Is there a possibility that always participation from private sector will be there? Think of it. Do you think always there will be a participation of private sector whenever any private sector company will take unsolicited proposal to the government? No. Can there be, right? Think of it. Can there be corruption because of this? Yes or no? Possibility is there or not? Can this lead to corruption, right, in the system? Yes. Can the process become opaque now? Can the process become more opaque? Right, because somebody has given a proposal, no private sector will come forward, government will simply allocate it. Then government says, I put it in the public domain, nobody came forward, what should I do? But what would have happened in reality, you do not know that. That is the reason opaqueness might happen, corruption might take place, the system is very opaque in nature. That's the reason, do not promote Swiss challenge model. This is the argument of Kilker committee. Do not promote it. It can lead to a lot of opaqueness in the system. Okay. And again, please understand the idea of a Swiss challenge is not very new. It's not very new. The idea of a Swiss challenge model is used by many countries. But only argument is only those countries where there is a lot of transparency in public accounts. I repeat, where there is a lot of transparency in the public accounting. Right? Governments are very transparent. In such countries, Swiss challenge model actually works out. But in a country such as India, where there is a lot of opaqueness, right, Swiss challenge model might lead to, again, I'm not saying it will compulsorily happen, might lead to more opaqueness. That's the reason government, this committee says, do away with Swiss challenge model. Right? Get this, right, basically removed from the PPP. Okay, done. Right? This is one more recommendation of Kilker committee. Right? Discourage Swiss challenge model. Right? So these are the recommendations regarding PPP. Right? Last concept in PPP, that is viability gap funding. VGF, viability gap funding. Now, what is this viability gap funding? Let me start with a very simple example. Imagine you want to construct, right, let's say a project. You want to construct a project. But private sector is concerned that I will invest money. But I'm worried about how much revenue I'll be able to generate. Is the logic okay? I will invest, I will construct the project, but my concern is how much money, how much finances I'll be able to earn from this project. That is, I don't know in 1 year whether I'll be able to earn 100 crore. Second year, I'll be able to earn 50 crore. Third year, I'll be able to earn 70 crore. I don't know. There is a lot of uncertainty associated with the revenue capacity of the project. This is basically called as financial viability. This is called as financial viability. Financial viability means there is uncertainty. There is no guarantee regarding how much revenue you are going to generate. So please think of it. You're a private sector company. You're asked to invest in the project, but there is uncertainty about the financial revenue generation capacity. Right? Don't you think in such cases, private sector might move away from investments? Private sector companies might shy away, might not invest in such infrastructure projects. Right? And look at this, for promotion of this only. For promotion of these kind of projects, government has introduced the concept of viability gap funding, VGF. Viability gap funding basically means, look at the term, it means certain amount of the total project cost will be given by the government. I will repeat the statement here. Certain amount out of the total project cost will be given by the government. That is concept of viability gap funding. VGF is provided to projects which are economically justified. Let me ask a very simple question. Construction of airport, is it economically good or bad? Economic wise, economics means employment, demand for raw materials, right? It will help in transportation, etc. Let's take one more example. Construction of ports, good or bad? Construction of right national highways, economically good or bad? So I hope you understand. All these projects are economically justified. You should construct them, you should develop them. But the concern is private sector might not do it because they're concerned about financial nature of the project, financial viability, how much revenue they'll be able to earn from the project. In such cases, government will provide certain amount of funding. I repeat, not loan, not loan. Certain amount of the project cost will be provided in the form of funding. That is called as viability gap funding, VGF. Now, as far as the PPP is concerned, for PPP, Government of India has launched a scheme. This is called as Infrastructure Viability Gap Funding Scheme for PPP projects. I repeat, for PPP projects, Government of India has launched a scheme, Infrastructure Viability Gap Funding Scheme. It was supposed to be implemented from 2006 to 2020. Now it has been extended. Now this scheme will be applicable till 24 and 25. Now under this scheme, Government of India has identified all the projects. They have divided into two parts. I repeat, all the projects under this PPP have been divided into two parts. If your project will fall under sub-scheme 1, you will be given up to 60% of the total project cost in the form of funding. I'll explain this. Listen to me very carefully. Imagine a project is there. It will be classified under sub-scheme 1 and the total project cost is 80 crore rupee. Total project cost, let's say, is 80 crore rupee. Then government will provide up to 60% of 80 crore rupees in the form of funding to you. Now, please do let me know, if up to 60% funding is given by the government, can I say financial viability of the project will improve? I'll repeat the statement. Out of the total project cost of 80 crore, up to 60% is given by the government. Will it improve the financial viability of the project? Of course, yes. Don't you think that will attract more and more private sector investment into these projects? Now, second, if your project is classified, under sub-scheme 2, then up to 80% of the capital expenditure, will be given to you in the form of VGF. Right? So these are the two types of sub-schemes under the VGF for PPP scheme that has been launched by Government of India. Right? So this is one more initiative of Government of India to promote financing for infrastructure projects, specifically through public-private partnership. Done? Can we go forward? This is the end of the PPP for you. Can we go forward? Any issue with what I've discussed? Questions are there? We'll take up questions. Let me know. But here, what is the government benefit if they give finance? My dear, please understand. The government's benefit is that project would be constructed, employment would be generated, right? It will promote a growth in the economy, etc. Because please understand, most of you look into this through the lens of profit making. Most will simply say, why is Government of India providing it? Don't you think it is the duty of Government of India to ensure the infrastructure is developed? Think of it. Don't you think it is the duty of Government of India? It should not run behind profit. That's the reason many of you always think in terms of profit. Duty of the government is not to earn profit, my dear. It is to ensure projects are developed. It is to ensure employment is generated. That's the reason under VGF, they will provide assistance. They will not provide loans. In that case, please tell me, why should Government of India give away the tax revenues that they have collected under RODTEP? Think of it. What is the return for Government of India? What is the return for Government of India under MEIS and SEIS scheme? What is the return for Government of India under interest equalization scheme? And more importantly, what is the return for Government of India under PLI? Think of it. Under PLI, government is giving certain money to, right, the private sector companies. All of you okay with this? Under PLI, government is giving incentives to private sector companies. What is the returns? Do you think government is going to earn interest on it? Is it a loan? Of course no. So please always remember this. Do not evaluate everything through the lens of profit for the government. No. Government is not there to earn profit. That is not priority for the government. Welfare, growth, employment generation, etc. is the priority for the government. Right? All of you are able to understand this? Right? If even now, if you're not able to understand, why is Government of India purchasing onion at higher prices, selling it at lower prices, at subsidized prices to consumers? Why is government procuring tomatoes at higher prices, selling it at lower prices to consumers? Is it not providing subsidy? Is it not welfare to the people? Of course, yes. Welfare is a priority for the government. Done? Any problem with what we have discussed? Scheme 2, I'll repeat it again. Right? Again, I'll repeat it. Point number 1, hundreds of projects are there. Right? Many of you are asking me examples. This is the answer to you people. Hundreds of projects are there. And all these hundreds of projects have been classified under 2. Right? Now, don't worry about all these projects. If your project will fall under the scheme 1, then up to 60%, please remember up to 60%, not 60, up to 60. Up to 60% of the project cost will be given to you. Whereas if your project falls under sub-scheme 2, up to 80% of the capital expenditure will be given to you in the form of funding. And I'm actually surprised, right? In the 21st class, there are a couple of students asking what is capital expenditure. Couple of students are asking me what is capital expenditure in the 21st class of economics. Please tell me, a company will spend money on machineries. Company will also spend money on labor. Do you think both of those expenditures will be included in capital expenditure? Think of it. Right? Do you think both of these will be included in capital expenditure? But can I say both of them will be included in total project cost? Some of you are saying yes for the first question. My dear, what do you mean by capital? This is the problem. If you do not revise, everything is new for you. What is capital? Let me know. What is capital? The money that you spend on machinery, money that you spend on, right, let's say, manufacturing facility, money that you spend on infrastructure, that is capital, my dear. Right? Labor, is it not working capital? Think of it. Labor, is it not working capital requirement? We have discussed all of this, by the way. Right? Where? In the second chapter, we have discussed it. Right? In the chapter for financial market, we have discussed this. Right? What is capital investment? What is working capital, etc., etc. So please revise. If you keep on forgetting what you have discussed in the earlier part, then right, basically everything will become difficult for you. Okay, done? Right, so these are certain important concepts that I want to discuss in the context of infrastructure. Investment models. Okay, so who will classify it? How will government come to know? My dear, there is already a list published by the government. And I don't want to make it difficult for you, but you can check it. There is already a list, exhaustive list provided by the government as to which project will fall under which category. Right now, you don't worry. In UPSC, right, you cannot imagine a question being asked by UPSC, tell me this project will fall under which category. They will not ask you all of it. Right? Do not complicate it. Okay. Now, next, I want to discuss concept of infrastructure. Next, I want to discuss idea of infrastructure. Now, what do you mean by infrastructure? If I ask you, please define infrastructure, most of you will start giving me, right, the arguments of, right, roads, right? You'll give me airport, you will give me warehouse, etc., etc. But Understand this? Infrastructure is the one which will provide a supporting services. What do you mean by infrastructure? Infrastructure are those which are created, assets which are created, which will provide supporting services. For what purposes? They will provide supporting services for achieving growth, for promoting development, etc. Is the definition okay? I'll repeat it again. What do you mean by infrastructure? These are assets which are created, which will help in achieving objectives such as growth, such as a development. For example, let me know, healthcare infrastructure, is it not for development purposes? I hope you understand. Healthcare infrastructure, is it not for development purposes? School infrastructure, is it not for development purposes? Sanitation infrastructure, is it not development purposes? And some of you are asking, sir, what is the difference between growth and development? Please understand this. Growth is always quantitative in nature. Growth is always quantitative, measured in terms of quantitative nature. What do you mean by growth here? Please tell me, if you come across the term growth in the context of Indian economy, what are they actually referring to? Let me know. What are they actually referring to? Can I say they are simply referring to GDP numbers? All of you okay? They are referring to GDP numbers. Whereas if they say development, what is the benefit of the growth for overall population? I'll repeat the statement. What is the benefit of growth for overall population? For example, if GDP of India is increasing, is the poverty reducing? Don't you think that's a development parameter? Is the poverty reducing or not? What is happening to nutrition consumption of the population? How many people are having access to food grains? How many people are sleeping without any food that is consumed on day-to-day basis? How many children are dying because of lack of nutrition, lack of health care? How many mothers are dying during the birth of the child, etc. So I hope you understand the logic behind it. So growth is always quantitative in nature, whereas development tries to measure what is the impact of growth on the population. That is qualitative. It is always qualitative in nature. It is always a qualitative in nature. So I hope you understand, development is a measurement of impact on the population, whereas growth is basically a measurement of output changes. So that is the reason infrastructure, I said, it is an asset which has been created either by the private sector or by the government, doesn't matter. But to achieve, or to provide supporting services to achieve growth as well as a development. This is point number one. Point number two, whenever you talk about infrastructure, generally infrastructure are two types. But nowadays, government also says infrastructure are three types. Infrastructure generally are considered to be two types, but I'll tell you the third type now. One is called as let's say economic infrastructure. One is economics, and second one is the social infrastructure, and the third one now digital infrastructure. It is becoming very famous. Economic infrastructure, social infrastructure, and digital infrastructure. For example, please think of it and do let me know. Can I say Aadhaar is a digital infrastructure? Aadhaar is a digital infrastructure, whereas the healthcare, sanitation, these are examples of social infrastructure. Economic infrastructure, national highways. What about ports? What about the ports? What about airports? These are economic infrastructure. So all of you okay? Infrastructure can be divided into economic infrastructure, social infrastructure, and digital infrastructure. So these are certain basic points regarding the concept of infrastructure. Now, what are the points we'll be covering? What areas will be covering under, let's say economic classes? We will cover power sector today, railways, roadways, ports, and airports. And when we're discussing ports, we'll also have a discussion regarding waterways. We'll also discuss the concept of waterways when we're discussing ports. Done? Now, these are the important areas that we'll be discussing. Now, let me start with power sector. Let me start with the power sector. Anybody in the classroom who says, sir, please define what is electricity? I don't know what is electricity. I've not seen electricity. I've never heard electricity. So define what is electricity, right? So electricity is consumed by all of us, whether we like it, don't like it, right? What is the source? Doesn't matter. We consume electricity. Now, in case of India, focus on India. That's more than sufficient. In case of India, whenever you talk about electricity, there are three very important steps. First one is generation of electricity. Second one is transmission of electricity. Third one is distribution of electricity. Okay, I'll repeat it again. One is a generation of electricity. Second one is a transmission. Third one is a distribution. Right? Generation, please remember, generation can be done in case of India by the central government. Central government generates a lot of electricity. Right? Can be done by the state government. Even the state governments generate a lot of electricity in India. And the third one is private sector. Even the private sector companies are involved in the generation of electricity. Now, in case of the central government and state government and private sector, please remember, whenever the companies are generating electricity, we simply call them as generation companies, or else in short, these are called as GenCos. Any problem with the term? Please do let me know. Right? Can I say any company, either it is a central government, a state government, or a private sector company, whenever they are involved in the generation of electricity, I will call them as GenCos, generation companies. Very famous. You can read it in the newspaper. They will always use the term GenCos. Sir, any example of a private sector company? Have you heard of Tata Power? There are two students who are asking, any example of private sector companies generating electricity? Have you heard of Tata Power? Right? It is a generation company owned by private sector. Have you heard of Adani Power? Have you heard of Reliance Power? All these are private sector companies. So state governments, central government, and also private sector. Now, transmission. What do you mean by transmission? Imagine electricity is produced in one region, let's say in Gujarat, in Maharashtra, or in another part of India. It will be transmitted. Transmitted means it will be moved from one region to another region. That is called as a transmission. In case of transmission, the most important entity owned by the government is called as power grid. Okay, it is called as power grid. Apart from the government, is private sector involved in transmission? Of course, yes, right? Many private sector companies are also involved in the transmission, although the percentage is very, very low. Now, once the transmission is done, the distribution of electricity has to be done. Now, remember this, the distribution is mainly controlled by the state government. The distribution of electricity is controlled by the state government, and in many of the state government, private sector is not allowed. State government, through its own entities, through its own agencies, actually distributes electricity, and these are called as state electricity boards. State electricity boards, SEBs, state electricity boards. And apart from this, there are also certain states which have allowed private sector to participate. For example, Mumbai. If anybody is there in the classroom from Mumbai, they will attest to the fact that private sector companies are allowed to distribute electricity. In Agra, it is allowed. In many of the parts of India, right? Many parts of India, many of the cities, private sector companies are allowed to distribute electricity. For example, Reliance Power distributes electricity, right? Adani Power distributes electricity, right? Etc. So even the private sector companies, are allowed to distribute electricity. But collectively, please remember this, collectively, right? These are generally referred to as DISCOMs. These are referred to as DISCOMs. So what do you mean by DISCOM? Distribution company. DISCOM is nothing but distribution company. And here are consumers. The consumer could be a commercial entity. The consumer could be the private sector companies. The consumer could be a commercial entity or a household, agriculture sector, etc. Right? This is generally how the production supply chain works out in the electricity sector in India. Now, next important point, whenever you talk about generation of electricity, please remember this. A large part of electricity generated in India, more than 50%, comes from thermal source. What do you mean by thermal source? Coal and gas. Right? Coal and gas. Right? Most of it, that is more than 50% of the electricity that is produced in India, comes